The next thing that I would like to talk about when it comes to drums is how we can provide the feel, how we can provide energy, and how we can keep the tempo of the track with the drum part. So an easy way of doing this is by thinking about your BPM and then also determining the placement of your kick and snare drum. Going back in Ableton over here, I changed the drum kit and I put a 909 core kit into the MIDI channel. What I'm going to go ahead and do is write in a MIDI part. So how you would do that is you would select the area in which you want to write a MIDI part. You go ahead and right click and insert your MIDI clip. Now let's go ahead and scroll down to where it says kick drum, which is going to be the very bottom. I'm going to go ahead and write a quarter note in and then duplicate that 4 times. So now we have a kick drum that's on the quarter note of the song and it's being played every single time the metronome is being triggered. So let's listen to that. There we have it. Now if you look at the very top, the track is set to 120 beats per minute by default, and the metronome is also enabled. What I'm going to show you now is how to create something that's called a full-time feel. Now when you have a full-time feel, the snare drum typically falls on the 2nd and 4th beat. So I'm going to go ahead and on the 2nd and 4th quarter note, I'm going to go ahead and put a snare. And I'm also going to copy and paste that onto the clap. So when I play this, it's going to provide a full-time feel. The song is going to feel like it's at 120 beats per minute. And if I want to make a house beat, what I can do is put a hi-hat up here on the off beat of the quarter note. So if you remember when we were talking about eighth notes, instead of putting it on the downbeat, which is where the kick drum is being hit, we're going to put it on the and. So when it comes to eighth notes, they're counted as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the offbeat, which is the and, that is called the upbeat. There's a downbeat and an upbeat. So the downbeat would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when it comes to the upbeat, that would be the and. So instead of the downbeat, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the hi-hat would go on the upbeat. So that's the eighth note immediately after the downbeat of the kick drum. And this is what it would sound like. That is a full-time feel drum part with the kick drum on every quarter note. We have the snare placed on the 2nd and 4th beat of the measure. And we have a hi-hat that's on the upbeat of every single eighth note. That's how you get the dance floor going. Now that we know how to make a full-time feel, I want to explain to you how we can make a halftime feel sounding drum part. I'm going to go over here again, and for the measure of 6 to 7, I'm going to go ahead and insert a MIDI clip. Within this MIDI clip, I'm going to write an arbitrary kick drum part. And I'm going to go ahead and put the snare on the 3rd beat of the measure. I'm also going to go ahead and loop that measure. Now that we have the snare drum, Let's duplicate that and put a clap underneath it. We now have a halftime feel part. Instead of the snare drum going on the second and fourth beat of the measure, we have it on the third, and that gives you a slower feeling to the track, and it makes you feel like you're in 60 beats per minute instead of 120. That is how the halftime feel works. Say you have a tempo. For us in this particular example, our tempo is 120 beats per minute. If you divide that in half, that would be 60. So because we put the snare drum on the third beat of the measure, it now sounds like the song is 60 beats per minute. Let's go ahead and use a closed hi-hat part. I'm going to right-click into the MIDI note editor. Inside of the fixed grid, I'm going to hit the 8th note. Actually, I'm going to hit the 16th note. And when I enable a draw feature up here, or by clicking B on my keyboard, you can just click and drag to write a hi-hat part. I decided to use the closed 909 hi-hat to make this. And when we listen to this, these are all 16th notes. If you count them all out, there's going to be 16 of them. This is what it now sounds like. Really good for hip hop and trap music, or if you're writing a house song and you're making bass house and you want to make the second drop halftime, this is how you would do it. There you have it. We have a full-time beat over here, and also a halftime beat right here. You can kind of hear a difference where the halftime beat sounds more slowed down and also a little bit more vibey. Kind of makes you nod your head like that. And then the full-time beat sounds like... Same tempo, two different feelings.